Well, the Nations Cup in Equatorial Guinea, you were supposed to be at that tournament. Let's take it from there.
Yes, not me per se. Nigeria was supposed to be part of it. The Super Eagles of Nigeria failed to defend the title. They failed to qualify to defend their title, which they won in 2013. And so the supporters club members who would have come from Nigeria, Ghana, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, all the countries of Africa, and from Europe missed the opportunity because of the Super Eagles' failure to qualify to be there. So we were not there, and indeed we were not. In fact, still up to now, we're not happy because it probably would have been an easy ride for the Super Eagles to have defended their title. We saw the games played. There was nothing much in terms of rivalry and stiff competition, which usually characterize the Cup of Nations, particularly when the Super Eagles of Nigeria is there. That was missing. We also failed to see the glamour that the Supporters Club of Nigeria takes to the Cup of Nations. You are all aware that every country of Africa is trying to emulate the Nigerian Football Supporters Club members in supporting their various teams. Not many of them could match the ability of the Nigerian supporters to support their team. But then it has come and gone. And I think we probably must have learned a bitter lesson from this. We have talked on what happened and why we failed to be there. It's known by everybody. Now we should be thinking of what should we be doing to be part of the next Cup of Nations 2017. Not just to be part of it, to go there, play well, win the championship. But what do we have at home right now? We don't have a team. Since we don't have a coach, we cannot have a team. So it is now the job of the Nigerian Football Federation to go ahead and get us a coach. Whosoever must be the coach of the Super Eagles must be employed right now, and then give all the terms and conditions for which he will serve to give us a formidable team that will take to the Cup of Nations 2017 and capture the cup once again.
We have seen a situation where some players were put together, of course the Super Eagles, to play some friendlies in Dubai. Do you think these friendlies have any meaningful impact in the rebuilding of a new Super Eagles?
For me, there has been no preparation. It's not to say preparation is slow. There has been no preparation. We went to play 2 matches in Dubai. We had the assistant coach in charge. We need a substantive coach. Let there be a coach. Let us start the process of getting a team that will play the qualifiers and go to the Cup of Nations. We cannot wait again. I said it earlier on. We probably must have learned some lessons in a bitter way. But any delay would not actually confirm that we have learned any lesson. So we should not delay again. The Nigerian Football Federation should start by employing a coach now. Let the Nigerian Football Federation ask the coach to put pen on paper, whosoever the coach will be, and let them give all the conditions and the terms for him to start the work right now. Let him get us the players that will form a team, a formidable team that will give us what we want.
We're talking about Stephen Keshi. The issue relating to his contract has created a lot of speculations. Would you say this issue has dragged for too long?
For me, I do not know why we're still for dragging. If it's going to be Keshi, let it be. If it's not going to be Keshi, let us know and let us get somebody. But like I said earlier on, if we are going to get Keshi to continue with the team, no problem. But then they must assist Keshi by sending him out for refresher courses. 2-3 months of attachment to some of the various clubs, good clubs in Europe, will not be a waste. He will gain something. Not only Keshi, even his assistants should also be assisted to go out there and learn 1 or 2 more tricks.
Will you say you are satisfied with the standard of what you saw at the just concluded Africa Cup of Nations in Equatorial Guinea?
Not really. I saw a competition, a tournament that the various teams did not give the best. I saw a competition where not much was attached, particularly in the preliminaries. Teams were playing 0-0, 1-1, and the rest. Not until the quarterfinal that we saw 1 or 2 matches that we could write something about. But look at the final itself. 2 draw. Over 1,000 missed wrong passes and misplacement of balls. When the Ghanaians play and they want to pass to their colleagues, they pass the ball into an Ivorian. When the Ivorian wants to pass, they pass to a Ghanaian. So for me, we saw a lot of many wrongs. And maybe because nobody wanted to lose, they said they were playing a tactical game. What is a tactical game you played without the effort in scoring goals? If you look at that match again, maybe you see 1 or 2 efforts in trying to score a goal. A final of the African Cup of Nations, it was less of the expectation. It was not what we wanted. It was not what we were expecting. And everybody around the world will ask themselves, is it the African Cup of Nations final? So for me, well, averagely okay, but not what we expected. The opposition, which is always there, particularly when the Super Eagles of Nigeria is there, was missing.
Well, one of the bad spots for the Nations Cup, in spite of the fact that Equatorial Guinea should be commended for hosting the Africa Cup of Nations impromptu, was the crowd situation in that match involving Equatorial Guinea and Ghana. Did that agitation from the crowd take shine off the excitement and the attraction of African football at the tournament?
It did. It did. And I think CAF must do something. Look, when you are hosting a tournament, it is not very compulsory that you must win. The Equatorial Guinea fans did not do the right thing. The fact that they were beaten by Ghana was not enough for them to attack the Ghanaian fans. When you lose the match, you don't lose your head. The Equatorial Guinea fans lost their heads, which is uncalled for. We should be playing this competition devoid of violence. We should be playing this competition without hooliganism. We should play it in the true spirit of sportsmanship. You lose, you win. It's neither there nor there, neither here nor there. It could be anybody's game. But how do you think that the fans of the Equatorial Guinea team would go to that extent simply because they were beaten. Were they better than the Ghanaian players? So CAF ought to have done something, and they must do something now, particularly assisting the African Football and Other Sports Supporters Union, AFOSU. Members of the supporters clubs of various countries have come together to form this association, and CAF has endorsed it. And there is need for us to have seminars and enlightenment campaigns for all these various fans across Africa, so that they know that it is not good for them to just be violent even if they lose the game. And I want to believe that the punishment meted to the Equatorial Guinea team may serve as a deterrent, but then we must do much more than that. CAF must now take the African Football Supporters Union serious. Call them together. Let us organize seminars and campaigns for these various fans, so as to forestall a future reoccurrence of what we saw in Equatorial Guinea.
You have been an apostle of drastic rebuilding of the Super Eagles, and you believe most of the players who played for the Super Eagles at the World Cup in Brazil last year had no business being in the team. Do you still hold to that opinion?
Yes, I do. I still have that opinion. Thank God we are now seeing young Nigerian players that must take the place of those players that are already tiring out. We are not condemning them, but we are saying that they've done enough. 15, 18 years playing for the Super Eagles should be something telling us that one day these people will stop playing. Even if they want to play, the stamina will no longer be there, the strength will no longer be there. We have young boys now in the under 17, in the under 20 and under 23. We saw them played in Abuja just about 2 weeks ago, and we have seen some budding talents in those teams. The Super Eagles coaches must work hand in hand with the coaches of these teams that played that tournament and be able to get players from these two teams, get them into the Super Eagles. We have 17, 18, 20, 23 years old men in those teams. And then what stops them? They showed a lot of promise. And I believe that some of the players, the Super Eagles players, who would have no business again playing for the Super Eagles, should be replaced by these new players that are coming out.
You mentioned players who have spent 10 years and thereabout. If we go back into players who have spent such amount of years, we should be counting in our fingertip the number of players who have spent so much years in the Super Eagles. They are virtually very few now.
Well, there are some of them that are still left there that have done even 10 years. And not only that, you see, when we were at the World Cup, I did mention that some players were taken to Brazil and they had no business there. I still maintain it, because you don't just take a greenhorn to the World Cup. The World Cup is not an experimental stage. The World Cup is made for tested players. Players that have played and have shown seriousness, commitment, determination, and experience. Not players that have not played 1 or 2 games for Nigeria and you just introduce them. That was what I was saying then. And while we have players who have been tested, players who have scored goals, both at the Cup of Nations and even at the qualifiers of the World Cup, we left them. Now I think, like I said, we have learned some lessons. That mistake should not repeat itself.
So specifically, who are some of these players who you feel we should bid farewell to when it comes to invitation to the Super Eagles?
I am not a coach. The coach has its record. The technical department of the Nigerian Football Federation has their record. And at the same time, we've seen them played. We know those of them who have given their best, but their souls are no longer strong enough to give much more. So we should ask them to go. While we bring in new boys, we have time now. We have time. The 2017 World Cup, Cup of Nations, is 2 years ahead. We can start today. By the time we introduce these new boys, they play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches. We start seeing promise, some promise in them, and we can bring them into the Super Eagles. You cannot say, okay, let all the 18 players of the Super Eagles go away at the same time. But if you get 2, 3 players you bring today, to change 2, 3 players that are no longer strong enough to do the job, before you know it, you will now start having a team, a formidable team. And I'm happy. Even when Keshi started, he said he was trying to build a new team. And if we are trying to build a new team, let us build that team properly. Let us fortify the Super Eagles with these new boys that are promising. We saw a very good tournament in Abuja, and all of us that witnessed that tournament were happy with all the players that played, even the club side. The club sides that played, there are some promising ones there. The under-23 team and the Flying Eagles, we saw them. They played so very well, and Nigerians are happy with them. So let us get some of these guys, introduce them into the Super Eagles. It's not a game, a situation of an automatic wearing of the shirt. By the time you get these boys, you try them, train them, let them play some friendlies. You'll be able to know if they will fit properly into the team.
Let's get back to the grassroots, where you have been advocating the need to sustain that level of developmental football in Nigeria. How far do you think the Golden Eaglets can go at the current African Under-17 Youth Championship taking place in Niger Republic?
I know that's a good side if given the proper and needed support. They can win the tournament. Their chances are very, very bright. All we need to do is to give them what is necessary to make them happy, but they themselves must get committed. I know a lot of these boys wants to make good names and history for themselves. So we on our part must be able to support them to give their best and come out triumphant.
Do you see this year as a fruitful year for the Nigerian Football Supporters Club in terms of support for Nigerian football?
I see it fruitful, very fruitful, not only for Nigerian Supporters Club, but indeed for Nigeria. If we do the right things, if we do the right things, the future this year will be bright for Nigeria. But if we fail to do those things that are correct, the Supporters Club will only be supporting. They will not get on the field of play and start playing matches for the teams. So what we are saying is that while the Nigerian Football Federation tries to do their best by giving all the necessary support in terms of arranging friendlies for the various teams, in terms of getting them to competitions and giving them all the required necessary things for them to stay happy, get committed, get patriotic, and give their best. The Supporters Club will always be there to support them, and they'll be happy to see them coming out victorious.